Hey, this is Rob Gallup here, and we're going to take a look at working with layers in MapTool. So I'm going to go ahead and launch MapTool. In the last lesson, we created our basic maps and saved them in a file called My Awesome Campaign, which we're going to load here. Every time you start MapTool, it will default back to sort of a generic grassy background tiled image, which we're not going to work with. We're going to go under File, Recent Campaigns, and load the campaign file that we were working with last time. And there it is. MapTool actually does not save your grid settings. Every time you open the MapTool campaign file, you have to re-enable the grid the way it was before and re-enable grid coordinates. And here we are. So layers. Layers can be kind of a difficult concept if you don't have a background in graphic design, but it's actually kind of simple if you look at it as a way of separating out parts of the map. A good way to think of it as layers as a stack of glass plates, where up here in this menu for the layers, you have token, hidden, object, and background. The token layer is the one that is nearest to you. The hidden layer is the one directly behind the token layer. Object is behind that, and the background is the one that is farthest away from you, directly over the background images here and the grid map. What a layer is really doing is it's separating out different parts of your work. Once you start putting images onto the map, it can be easy to accidentally grab one and drag it and drop it or click on it. And once you have images in a stack, it can be confusing to work with them if you have to sort through a lot of them in order to make menus come up and change them. So basically what the layer does is anything that you put into the map, whatever the current layer that is selected, right now it's token, you drop it into that layer, into that glass pane. So right now, because the token layer is selected, I can move this around. And I can change it, I can affect it. But now I've selected the object layer. I've activated a different lower layer of glass, so to speak. And you can see I'm clicking on this barrel now and I cannot select it. But if I switch back to token, I can select it. I can click on it, it responds. And it really is that simple. Whatever you do on the map will occur only in the layer that is currently selected at the time that you do it. Whether you draw something using the drawing tools here, which we'll take a look at later, whether we put different larger background images onto the map, that's the most important concept, is whatever is selected, whatever layer is selected, that's what you're actually dropping images or drawings onto. And you can't affect it once you select a different layer. So we're going to select object just to give another demonstration, and we'll drag a boat out here. And so it is in the object layer. Now we switch back to the token layer, and I can't click on the boat. I can't affect the boat, but I can affect the barrels and the crate. I switch back to object, and I can affect the boat again, but I can't affect the barrels and the crates. So running through each of these quickly, what they are for. The token layer is for creature tokens. You could put other things in it, but when you put a creature token onto the map with the token layer selected, you get this pop-up that asks you what it is. And in all cases, except for PC tokens, you're going to want to go with the defaults here and just hit OK. It's an NPC. You want it to be visible. You want the dialog to come up. So we'll treat this as an NPC because I left the default settings. We'll come back later into why the PC versus NPC setting makes a difference. But that's a feature of the token layer, is whenever you drag a creature token or any kind of image onto the map and let it go, it's always going to ask you what it is. Is it a PC or is it an NPC? And that goes, by the way, for any image. If you drag a sword, it doesn't know. You could call it whatever you want, PC, NPC, but that's the important concept. So the hidden layer, you don't actually use all that much. It's a good place to put things that you don't want players to see, like if there is a fireball effect that you might use in the game at some point. If it's in the hidden layer, it's something that is invisible to players when you set the map to make it look like it should for players. And that's something we'll come back to later. Hidden layer, I don't actually use all that much. Object layer. You could say I put the boat in the object layer. That's where you generally put medium to small images. This boat, these barrels, rocks, things like that. The background layer, that's where you might put a full-sized dungeon. And let's say I have one here. So here is a cave. Now, the background layer is selected, so when I drop it on here, it's going to appear behind everything else because the background layer is behind the object, token, and hidden layers where all these other images and creature tokens are located. So I am dragging this very large background image around behind these other things and not affecting them because those layers are not selected. You do most of your work when you're setting up a map for a campaign in this background layer and in the object layer. The token layer, you'll do most of your work in the token and a little bit in the object layers when you're updating an existing battle map round by round during your game to show PCs moving around on the map during the course of round by round combat or just exploring the dungeon. There are other layers that different things appear in. The grid appears in its own layer. The immovable tiles in the background. The immovable tiles in the background here appear in their own layer at the very, very bottom of the stack. To move objects between layers, once you've got them on the map, is you select the current layer that it's in and right-click on it to make the menu appear and go under Change To, and you pick the new layer that you want it to be in, Object. And now you see I can't click on or affect this token anymore because the token layer is selected and I just moved it into the object layer. So to affect it, I need to click on the object layer and now I can affect it again. So I'm going to change it back to the token layer and now it's the same problem. I can't touch it, I can't affect it because object layer is still affected and it is now in the token layer. So I'd have to select token layer to change it or affect it. Working with stacks. A stack is everything you're seeing right now is actually a stack. The background image of the map is in a stack with the other images that are on top of it. You can also have stacks within a layer. So for example, right now in the token layer, I have multiple creature tokens. I think I'll drag one more here just to make it interesting. We'll use our Tabaxi fighter here. Call this one just a PC just for change of pace, and maybe we'll drag a monster out here as well, skeleton. So a stack of tokens in the token layer, I put the Tabaxi on top of our human druid here, and you can see that this little white square appears, and that's to tell me that I have a stack of images here. And I double clicked on the stack, and now I can see what images are in it. I can drag a token out of the stack by selecting it here, and then put it back into the stack if I need to. This only works in the token layer. If we try to do this with objects, I've got a couple of stacked objects here. Double clicking doesn't get you the same kind of stack menu as it does in the token layer, where you can see all of the creature tokens that are in a stack. So that's one thing that's unique about the token layer. So I'm just going to drag these apart again. Another useful aspect, another way to work with stacks of images is shuffling them back and forward relative to each other. For example, it'd be a little hard to tell with tokens because you can't see through them what's behind it, but I put this rock on top of the boat, and I can drag this table image, which came out really big. I can put it on top of these other images here, and I can also change the order by going to the table and right-click on the table under Arrange, Bring to Front, or Send to Back. So within the object layer, within this stack of boat, rock, and table, I just sent the table to the back of the stack. And you can do that with anything. The boat, right-click on the boat, Arrange, Bring to Front, and now the boat is on the top of the stack. And trying it again with the rock, Arrange, Send to Back, and now the rock is underneath all of these things. You can only ever bring things all the way to the top or all the way to the bottom, all the way to the front or all the way to the back. You can't put things into the middle. One important takeaway in working with layers is that you're going to forget sooner or later. You'll have objects selected. You'll think that the token layer is selected. You'll drag a token onto the map, and you will forget what layer that it was in. And later on, you'll be working, and you'll be trying to click on it, select it, or get the menu to appear, and you'll say, what's going on? And it's a source of much confusion, but 99% of the time, if you can't affect something, if you can't get a menu to appear, if you can't move it, you've probably got the wrong layer selected and you need to try different ones. Okay, I think that's everything from this lesson that I wanted to cover. We will pick it up with more advanced placing and sizing and orienting of things within layers in our next lesson. Okay, thanks for watching.